There are two people I want you to think about. Same city, same company, same salary, $65,000 a year. Both of them decided at 30 years old to get serious about money. Both set aside $500 a month, every month without fail, for 25 years. One of them retired with $847,000. The other retired with $503,000. Same income, same discipline, same monthly number, $344,000 apart. The difference was not intelligence. It was not luck. It was not timing the market or picking the right stocks. It was sequence, the order in which they did things. One followed the optimal order without fully understanding why. The other did everything in the order that felt logical at the time and paid $344,000 for that feeling. That gap has a name. I call it the wrong order tax. It doesn't show up on any statement. The IRS doesn't send you a bill for it. But it is real. It compounds silently over decades, and most Americans are paying it right now without knowing it. I'm Dean. This channel decodes the hidden rules of money before they cost you. Today we're walking through the exact sequence for investing your money 7 steps in a specific order, with the math behind that order is not negotiable. By the end, you'll know where you are in the sequence, what you're skipping, and what that skip is actually costing you in dollars. Before the steps, the principle that holds the whole thing together. Every dollar you have right now has a best possible use. Not a good use, a best use. The wrong order tax is what you pay when you give a dollar its second best use instead of its best one. Investing in the stock market while carrying credit card debt at 22% interest is the wrong order tax in its most expensive form. You might earn 8 or 10% in the market in a good year. The debt is guaranteed to cost you 22%. The math doesn't care how excited you are about the investment. It just runs. The sequence exists to make sure every dollar goes to its highest value destination first. Here's the full order, then we'll walk through each one. Step 1. Emergency fund starter level. Step 2. High interest debt elimination. Step 3. Employer match all of it. Step 4. IRA traditional or Roth. Step 5. HSA if you qualify. Step 6. Max out 401a, beyond the match. Step 7. Taxable investment accounts. 7 steps. Let's build them properly. Step 1. The emergency fund, not the full 3 to 6 months everyone talks about. Not yet. The first target is $2,000, and there is a specific reason for that number. Vanguard research found that people with at least $2,000 in emergency savings and scored 21% higher on financial well-being measures than people with nothing. That was the single largest boost linked to any financial behavior they measured larger than income, larger than retirement account balance. $2,000 is not life-changing wealth, but the psychological shift it creates is the thing that keeps people from destroying their financial plan the moment something goes wrong. Here is what an emergency fund actually does that nobody explains correctly. It is not a savings account. It is a circuit breaker. When the car breaks down, when the medical bill arrives, when the furnace dies in February without a circuit breaker, those events force you to make financial decisions under duress. You sell investments at the wrong time. You put it on a credit card at 22%. You cash out a retirement account and pay the penalty. Each of those decisions costs you more than the original emergency. The emergency fund doesn't just cover the expense. It protects every other financial decision you will make for the rest of that year. The median American emergency savings right now sits below $600. That number has been falling, which means most Americans are one car repair away from a financial decision they will regret for years. Start with $1,000 as fast as possible that covers most single emergencies, then build to $2,000. Then, once you are past step 3 in this sequence, build toward 1 to 3 months of actual living expenses. The exact target depends on your situation. Stable salaried job with benefits needs less buffer than a freelancer or a single income household. But $2,000 is the minimum that changes behavior, and it is where you start. Keep it in a high-yield savings account, not your checking account where it disappears into daily spending. Not the market it, where it can drop 20% the week you need it. Liquid, boring, and untouched. Step 2. High debt. The threshold is approximately 8% annual interest. Anything above that, pay it before you invest anywhere else, except the employer match we'll get to in a moment. Credit card debt at 22% is the most common version of this problem and the most expensive one. Here is the math made concrete. You have $5,000 in credit card debt at 22%, and you are making minimum payments while also putting $200 a month into an index fund, hoping to build wealth. The index fund might return 9 or 10% in a good year. The credit card is returning negative 22% on that same $5,000, guaranteed every year with no bad years. You are not building wealth. You are filling a bucket with a large hole in it and wondering why the level never rises. Paying off that $5,000 in credit card debt is a guaranteed 22% return on your money, not projected, not historical average. Guaranteed because the interest stops the moment the balance hits zero. Warren Buffett's long-term average return is around 20%. Paying off your credit card beats it risk-free. The method: list every debt with its interest rate and minimum payment. Pay the minimums on everything. Every extra dollar goes to the highest rate debt first. When that one is gone, redirect everything to the next highest rate. This is the debt avalanche mathematically optimal, saves the most money. Some people prefer paying the smallest balance first for the psychological momentum. That is the debt snowball, and it works for people who need the early win to stay motivated. Either method beats the alternative, which is carrying the debt indefinitely while wondering why investing isn't working. One exception to this step, and it is large enough to become its own step. Step 3. Employer match. Before you finish paying debt, if your employer matches retirement contributions, capture the full match before you throw extra money at debt. Even high-interest debt. This is the most counterintuitive step in the sequence, and the math justifies it completely. A typical employer match, 50 cents on the dollar, up to 6% of your salary. On a $60,000 salary, that means contributing $3,600 to your 401k triggers as $100 in free employer money. That is an immediate 50% return on $3,600 before the money is invested in anything. Some employers match dollar for dollar, that is a 100% instant return. There is no investment on earth that offers a guaranteed 50,100% return the moment you make it. Not the stock market, not real estate, not paying off debt at 22%. The employer match is the single highest return financial move available to most Americans, and roughly 1 in 5 eligible employees leaves some or all of it on the table every year. The only scenario where skipping the match makes sense: you have no emergency fund at all, and your job is genuinely unstable. If losing your job tomorrow would be a crisis, build the $1,000 starter fund first. Otherwise, employer match before extra debt payments, always. Step 4 IRA, after the emergency fund, high interest debt under control, and full employer match captured, open and fund an IRA. The 2026 contribution limit is $7,000 if you are under 50, $8,000 if you are 50 or older. The traditional versus Roth decision trips up more people than it should. Here is the version that works for most people. If you are early in your career and currently in the 22% tax bracket or below, use Roth. You pay taxes now at a relatively low rate, and every dollar of growth comes out tax-free in retirement. The younger you are, the more powerful this becomes, because you are shielding decades of compounding from future taxation. If you are in your peak earning years 45 to 60, high income, likely in the 24% bracket or above, use traditional. The tax deduction now is worth more than the tax-free withdrawal later, especially if you expect lower income in retirement. If you are genuinely unsure, split it, half traditional, half Roth. Tax diversification gives you flexibility in retirement to draw from whichever account is more efficient in any given year. That flexibility has real dollar value. The IRA also gives you investment choices your 401k may not offer. Most workplace plans have a limited menu of funds, often with higher expense ratios than what you can access through an IRA. At Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab, you can hold index funds with expense ratios below 0.05%. That difference in fees, 0.05%, versus 0.5% compounds over 30 years into tens of thousands of dollars. Step 5 HSA, the triple tax weapon. If you have a high deductible health plan, you have access to the most tax-efficient account in the American financial system. Most people use it as a medical spending account. That is a significant underuse. The 2026 HSA contribution limits, $4,400 for individual coverage, $8,750 for family coverage. Here is what makes those numbers extraordinary. Contributions go in pre-tax, reduces your taxable income now. Money grows tax-free inside the account, no capital gains, no dividend tax. Withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free at any age, now or in retirement. No other account in the tax code offers all three. Traditional IRA, tax-free in, taxable out. Roth IRA, taxable in, tax-free out. HSA, Tax-free growth, tax-free out for medical expenses. It is the only triple tax advantage available, and healthcare in retirement is not optional. Here's the strategy that separates people who use HSAs well from everyone else. If you can afford to pay current medical expenses out of pocket, do it. Let the HSA sit invested in a low-cost index fund. Keep every receipt. There is no time limit on HSA reimbursements. You can pay a doctor bill today, save the receipt, and reimburse yourself from the HSA 10 or 20 years from now tax-free. The money in the HSA has been compounding the entire time. The math. Max out HSA contributions for 30 years, earn 7% annually, the account grows to over $400,000. Fidelity estimates the average couple retiring today will spend over $330,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. An HSA built correctly can make that entire cost disappear from your retirement budget. That is not a minor optimization. That is the difference between retirement feeling tight and retirement feeling like something you actually planned correctly. After 65, HSAs become even more flexible. You can withdraw for any purpose. Non-medical withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income, exactly like a traditional IRA. But medical expenses, which you will have, remain completely tax-free. The downside risk of an HSA at 65 is that it becomes a traditional IRA. The upside is that it covers all healthcare tax-free. That asymmetry is why the HSA belongs at Step 5. Step 6, max out the 401A. You have the employer match from Step 3. Now go back and fill the rest of the 401A to the annual limit. In 2026, $23,500 if you are under 50. $31,000 if you are 50 or older, including catch-up contributions. Most people never reach this step. The average American saves about 6% of income, enough to get the employer match if they are lucky, not enough to come close to the limit. If you are working through this full sequence, you are already in the top tier of American savers. The reason to max the 401N before moving to taxable accounts is tax deferral on a large number. Every dollar in the 401N compounds without the IRS taking a cut each year. Dividends are not taxed. Gains are not taxed. You pay taxes only when you withdraw, which, if timed right in retirement, can happen at a lower rate than your working years. At this point in the sequence, IRA maxed, HSA maxed, 401A, maxed, a household under 50 can shelter over $35,000 annually from current taxation. That is a serious structural advantage that compounds silently for decades. Step 7, taxable investment accounts, last step. Not because taxable accounts are bad, they are not. Because they are the least tax-efficient option. And tax efficiency is the variable that separates identical investors over 30 years. The math is straightforward. $10,000 per year invested for 30 years at 7% annual return. In a tax-advantaged account, approximately $944,000. In a taxable account, same return but paying taxes on dividends and capital gains along the way, approximately $700,000. Same investor, same discipline, same market return. $244,000 difference entirely explained by taxes on the sequence. Taxable accounts do have specific advantages that matter at this stage. No contribution limits, you can put in as much as you want. No withdrawal restrictions, you can access the money at any age without penalty, which makes them the bridge account for anyone planning early retirement before 59 unhappy. And the step up in basis at death, which means appreciated assets passed to heirs can have their capital gains reset to zero, eliminating decades of embedded tax liability in a single legal mechanism. Once every tax-advantaged dollar is placed correctly, taxable accounts are where the rest goes. Low-cost index funds, tax-efficient ETFs, assets you intend to hold for years to minimize capital gains events. Same system that built the foundation applied here, with full awareness of the tax drag. Here is the full sequence in one paragraph. Build a $2,000 emergency fund. First, it is the circuit breaker that protects every other decision. Eliminate high-interest debt above 8%. Paying it off is a guaranteed return that beats most investments. Capture every dollar of employer, match the only guaranteed 5,100% instant return available to you. Fund an IRA $7,000 a year in the account that fits your tax situation. Max the HSA if you qualify, the only triple tax advantage in the system, specifically designed for the expense that will dominate your retirement budget. Fill the 401A to the limit $23,500 in 2026, more if you're over 50. Then, and only then, taxable investment accounts, flexible, unlimited, and last in line because they are least efficient. 7 steps. a specific order. The order is not a suggestion. Here is the decoded rule, the one this entire sequence was built around. Every dollar has a best possible use. The wrong order tax is the price you pay for giving it the second best use instead. The two people at the beginning of this video did not earn different amounts. They did not save different amounts. They did not get different market returns. One of them gave every dollar its best use in the right sequence for 25 years. The other gave every dollar a good use, just not the best one. $344,000 is what good instead of best costs, compounded over a career. The sequence is not complicated. It is just not what anyone teaches you in the order that matters. Now you have the order. What you do with it is the only variable left. If this video decoded something useful, subscribe. The next one covers the specific traps that derail people at each decade of this sequence. Your 30s trap looks nothing like your 40s trap, and most people don't see either one coming until the damage is done.